I really want to thank you because I know what it feels like to be at the end of the school year. I say often that there are two periods of time in the year that educators and teachers, are just geared up for all the time. One is the opening of school. I don't know about you, but in August, I think it's time for me to buy new school supplies and to buy new clothes and get ready for the opening. I have a whole new beginning. And in June, I'm shutting down. There's something about having 30 willing people, sometimes more than that, in front of you, and they're excited about their summers, and you've given them your best shot all year long, and you're packing up your things. I know what it feels like. You've got report cards, and you've got grade books, and just a ton of different activity. But I rather suspect that after we retire, we're going to all miss that. Both parts of it. I know I did. Not in the retirement, but when I left Chicago Public Schools and went to Washington, the Washington Public Schools, which were the closest to me, were closed. As you may have heard, over the last couple of years, they've had some operational kinds of things, and schools just didn't open on time, and I had been working very closely with the administration. Well, anyway, in September, I had a depression. And I didn't know what it was. It was just something in my gut that didn't feel right, and I wasn't able to put a pin on it. I didn't know what it was until all of a sudden I realized that for the first time since I was 5 years old myself, I had not gone back to school that fall. So I learned a lesson 2 years ago, and the next fall, I celebrated back to school with school districts from California to the East Coast, everywhere, because it's important to us. It's a part of who we are. And that's a little bit of what I want to talk to you about today. Again, recognizing that these are times where you're slowing down. I want to commend your efforts, the efforts that you've given to kids every day, not just this year, but in all of the years before this one, and for the kids who will come. I say to anyone who has not worked and spent a day with children, in family groups we have them 2, 3, 4 at a time, and when a family says they have 10 children, we say 10? Well, we have hundreds and thousands of them, and we make it work for them. In fact, a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago, at the awards evening, the senior honor night, when I listened to those children who were then 17 and leaving public schools, and they could pinpoint when they turned on to math or science or whatever it was, they identified a third grade teacher or a sixth grade teacher, or maybe it was the teacher from this year who'd worked with them. And they said the smallest little things made a difference. There was not a person, not an educator in the room who could identify with that. And that's why we're here. That's why we have the Junes, and we look forward to the Septembers every year. I've had a lot of jobs in education. I've enjoyed each one of them, and I plan to keep enjoying them until I stop. But the ones that I enjoyed the most are spending every day with kids, being a teacher, being a principal. That's the real joy and the real work. I share with people all the time. I think I'm good at what I do. I'm a good teacher. Test me one day. Invite me to teach in your classroom. I'd love to do that. But on days when my work takes me far away from the classroom, I bring up memories, and I think about the meaningful difference that we make in the lives of kids, and that we're able to be guardian angels, so to speak, in their lives and make sure that they can grow and become the full adults that they're intended to. A couple of children stand in my mind all the time. One was one I heard from a little while ago. This is a student who's now graduating from elementary school this year, perhaps even this time. And she wrote me a letter a little while ago, and she thanked me for letting her sit on my lap every day after school. I was a principal then, and she was 4 and in preschool, and she'd come in after the end of the day, and I was doing paperwork, and she'd hold a book and pretend to read it. And I allowed her to do that, and we both had great fun. She wrote me a letter and talked about winning the Young Authors Awards. I used to call her Maya Angelou all the time. And she won the Young Authors Award, and she thanked me for letting her read to me when she couldn't read. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. And then I was lucky enough to get another gift, and this one I want to share with you. You know, in the hustle and bustle of moving from the East Coast to here and changing jobs and all that brings with that, I had a little concern, just a little. Am I making the right decision? Is this the right work for me? I already had a wonderful position that I enjoyed so very, very much. And as you may remember, my starting date was April 15th. And shortly after arriving, I got this letter. And this letter is going to be with me as long as I breathe. It says, "Dear Miss Harvey, how are you feeling? I've been trying to contact you for some time. I hope you'll remember me. My name at the time, you knew me," and she gives her name. "You were my 5th grade teacher at William G. Beall School in 1969, a year I will never forget. Your kindness toward me and my family that year never left my heart. I wanted to find you to let you know that you touched and affected my life. Even though through the confusion of death, foster homes, homelessness, and life itself, I've often thought of you. Well, I've been blessed in many ways that it would take a book to mention them all. Do you remember having a few of your students, female," she says, "come to your house one Saturday, and we got a peek at the preparations of the planning for your wedding? I was one of those lucky young girls whom you made feel so special that you opened your home to. I remember always in class, every chance I got, I would stare at your hands." And then she says, "No, I'm not a nut. Your hands reminded me of my mother's hands, who died that year, April 7th to be exact. You were at the wake, and you made the experience just a little easier for me. And when I looked at your hands, they would somehow comfort me. Maybe one day I'll get to see you again." Well, she's going to get a chance to see me again. We've already talked. "If you're ever in Chicago, give me a ring. Thank you for just being a caring person." She says, "I'm 41 years old now. I have 4 children, 24, 23, 19, and 8. I have 2 grandchildren living and 1 grandson who's in heaven. I'm a Chicago police officer out of First District, and for those of you who don't know Chicago, that's downtown Chicago. And you have to be at the top of your trade to end up being in downtown Chicago. I hope to hear from you. But if not, just let it be known that you did touch my life in a very positive way." I don't know if she recognized that April 15th was my starting day here. I don't know how she knew I was here because the letter was addressed to St. Paul. But what I do know is that if there was ever anything that made sure that I knew what my mission was here, it was this letter. Folks, we can, in fact, raise the expectations for children, for all of them. We can make sure all of them get to the top of what they are given at birth in terms of their talents and abilities, and that we can do it by working together. It's the work that we already do, and that's what I want this administration to be about. Our work, as you already know, is more important than any other work that exists. whether it's validated or not. We know that it is. Because if we don't get it right for the kids, then we don't have a future life in this country and elsewhere in the world. It's important every day that you've pushed yourself and you said, I've had a headache. I can't deal with this problem right now. But you deal. You put the smile on, you open the lesson plan book, you open the textbook, and you just kept forging and forging and forging ahead. That's what being an educator is about. It's about test scores, but it's also about being there for caring and being the caring person in a child's life and not being able to afford not to be at the best of our trade any one day. Because if there's any day that we're not at the best of our trade, who knows? The person who sits in front of us may not get that spark that's going to lead them, as the students who were honored the other night. Who knows? The person who's sitting in front of us may not grow to become the physician or the teacher or the police officer or you name it that they're supposed to be. And what we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes after this introduction are some of the things that are on the horizons for the fall. After you've had that nice summer vacation and you've enjoyed this wonderful weather in our city, and we gather again at the end of the summer, we can gather around some issues. How are we going to move forward? How are we going to make a bigger difference in the lives of kids like the one I just read a letter from? Sometimes, as educators, we've waited for other people to solve our problems. We say all the time, well, we need more money. We need more resources. We need less kids. We need bigger buildings, and on and on and on. And certainly, we are not in this alone. But we, those of us in this room, and those of us who are around the city who are hearing this, we've got to join hands, and we've got to work with what we have, and we've got to take this system to the top, to the very top of our trade. Not some of the kids, not some of the schools, but every last one of them. If not every last one of them, I'd like for someone to identify the one child or the one group of children that they'd like to leave behind. I rather suspect nobody will do that. And so, since it's all of them, it's going to take all of us. Now, problems, when you unpack them, have solutions. And what we have to do is to create a community of educators that works together, and that when we know that something is not working well, that we identify it, that we put the spotlight on it, and then we take all of the intelligence that's in this school district and we attack it. We just simply attack it until we figure out a better way to do it. The other thing that we must do, especially as we begin the last school year of this millennium, is we have to ask ourselves some fresh new questions. And one of them, the center or the most important question is, should we be doing whatever it is this way? You know, we get very comfortable with education. We know it. I can tell you, I can identify a school from the airplane. I play that game with myself all the time. As we start to land, I look down and I say, there's one, there's one, there's one, and so forth. And as you see a cul-de-sac, pretty soon you're going to look for a school, because if people are there, there is a school. But another thing that happens to us is that we begin to think that a school is a blackboard and a roll of desks and walls, and it looks like it has always looked for us. That worked for us. It may continue to work for us as we move forward, and it may not continue to work for us. as we move forward. We've dealt with this school year, starting in the fall and ending in June. That may work for us in the future, and it may not work for us in the future. But we've got to ask the questions. And we've all got to feel fully charged to ask them. And we've got to know that our voices will be heard and appreciated. That's how we're going to get to world-class education. Now, we're going to be, in our discussion, identifying some things that we have to do to make it happen, and those are important. But if we don't, all of us in every one of our schools, operate together in a seamless way and have alignment like you've never seen it before, then it won't happen. And let me tell you a secret. I am not going to allow it not to happen, because we all are charged with making sure that these beautiful children that we serve get only the best. So it's going to happen. We're going to make sure that it happens. And so I want to stop here and just get into some of the reforms that we've been talking about, or some of the things that maybe you've read in the newspaper or whatever, and you want us to think some more about, or you agree with. We've got to do more. We have to have more of these forums. And again, there's a viewing audience here, and there's a listening audience out in the city of St. Paul and in every one of our classrooms. And what we're doing over the next month is we're engaging in conversations around what will be high enough for St. Paul kids. And these are strategic efforts. And when we finish these quick conversations we're having over this next month, we're going to organize like you've never seen us do before, and we're going to begin to move forward, and we're going to continue to do that as our students achieve. And we're going to be held accountable for increased outcomes based upon our plans. So let's have a little conversation now. Questions? Yes?
Dr. Harvey, how can we expect schools to be different next year under your leadership?
Well, we are still involved in conversations, because I truly want to hear from teachers and principals and citizens and everyone in St. Paul in terms of what we need to do. But this board hired me based upon some things that I said that I would do in the city of St. Paul. And one, and the most important one, is to raise expectations for learning. Our kids are not working nearly high enough for us. You know, every day, because we have the Bridgeview kids who are very close to this building, I just really, how many of you work with special kids? Oh, hey, I salute you. I take off my hat. I pay homage to you, because I have seen some of the highest expectations in teachers who serve the the special kids, because they see every day that if they don't push that child to the nth degree, his or her life is going to change because of that. They won't be able to do just the ordinary things that the rest of us take advantage of. Well, then we have all of these able-bodied children who leave school, bats and balls and jump ropes and all of the other, no books, no concern about learning. And it's because we have sent a message that that is okay. And what we have to do now is to send a new message. It is no longer acceptable. Now, we're going to have to figure that out in terms of what are going to be the promotion requirements for every grade in our school district, and lay it out for parents and students at the end of the summer so that they will have an honest opportunity to reach those levels of attainment. And when they don't, we can put interventions in place to help them do so. So raising expectations is first and foremost. Then aside from that, we've got to get, and I've been saying it all over town, alignment, alignment, alignment. We are doing so much in St. Paul. But when you look around, we don't know with clarity the gaps. It's almost like a Christmas tree effect in terms of programs. So what we've got to do is to make sure that that we're clear on what we want kids to know and be able to do, and those are our standards, and that we provide effective curriculum and instructional practices for attainment, that we are evaluating what we said we wanted kids to know, and that we are constantly modifying our instruction to make sure it goes forward, and that all of the policies, all of the procedures support that. Other than that, you, the most important people in our school district, will not be able to get it done. And so we're going to have to work in that area. Then another area is in the area of professional development. We have got to take the time to make sure that we're hearing, we're in conversation around the best practices, that we have time so that we can engage in thoughtful discussion about our work, and that we're carefully planning for future teachers coming in to our city and future principals, and that teachers who want to become principals have an avenue to make that happen, or people who want to become superintendents, or whatever their professional goals are, that as a district we're supporting that. Because in a very few years, most of us who are 50 and above are going to leave. Most of us. And we have to make sure that we have as many of us who are leaving ready to come and take our seats at every level of this organization. So that's just a few of the things that we're going to work on and be moving forward in right away in the fall. Yes?
Kirby, I work with volunteers. How do you see their role as helping you move this agenda forward?
We are going to need not only parents who do traditional kinds of volunteering in our schools, but we're going to have to carefully find all of the people in St. Paul who support education. Let me tell you one way we can make that happen, and we've already started, and it's one of our major initiatives. We've started an initiative of having all kids read 25 books. We're going to be held to that standard, 25 books. For babies, even more than that. But in the process of putting together a campaign like that, where we can link arms with the libraries and community organizations and institutions of faith, and the mayor is co-convening this effort with us in the school district. If we can bring everybody together, in a sense, that's volunteers, together, all working with kids around one effort, then we can see the results of our work. We get the focus, we get that critical mass of people who are moving forward. Now, the other part of what we have to do in that 25 book reading campaign is to begin to find out who's doing what in the area of reading, so that we can get it all down and we can look at it thoughtfully, and we can see if one school has more opportunities than another school, than another, and so that as we move forward, then we know that where the gaps are, and then we can use either our resources and the resources of others to help us. So the sense of volunteering should get real big and not be just locked in to just our parents. Yes?
Dr. Harvey, I've heard about this strategic plan. Can you tell us a little bit about the process, who's involved, and what's the purpose and the goals?
Yes. Well, I've been doing a lot of talking about it, and I hope many other people have as well. One of the first things that a new superintendent or a new administration or a new program needs to do is to take the pulse. And so that's what we're doing now. It's an excellent opportunity. New leadership is an opportunity to take a fresh look at what we're doing. And so what we've done is to put together a process which will allow anyone and everyone to have a voice. We have over 40 or 50 different focus groups who are the official kinds of sessions you put together to get information or to get input from the public. We have phone surveys, and the information will be in the newspaper for St. Paul citizens who don't have a regular connection with our schools. And then on top of that, we've invited a group of national experts to come in and take a look at the way we're organized now and how we provide services to kids. And we're asking them to give us information too in terms of how we can improve. And then this is all going to fold into a roundtable discussion with some of our city leaders, including our mayor, and the governor has been invited, and our major CEOs and the heads of our universities and community organizations. And we're going to be sharing all of this information, as well as asking them for a list of about a handful of things that we have to do in order to make sure that we're hitting the mark for the city of St. Paul. Yes?
Can you share any insights about the new budget that's been proposed?
Yes, I'm glad that you asked. Budget season is never easy. And as we move forward in site-based management, folks, I'm going to take some of these hard problems and I'm going to take them off of my shoulders. I'm going to put them right smack dab on yours. But here's where we are. We had a process through our budget department where we looked at the worst possible scenario. And then as we got more information about funds, we changed the scenarios and changed them until we got to the other day. And what we've done is to prepare a budget which I feel, because this is the charge that I gave the staff, I will not take a recommendation to the board for a budget that doesn't have a classroom that I wouldn't want to teach in. So we had a huge chore. We were very, very not lucky. We were able to get additional funds from the state, and that helped us. But the funds came, and they're put in different pockets. And so we could only use them in certain ways. And so in that, there were some winners and there were some losers. And also we had, either way you look at it, with the additional funds or not, we have what amounts to a $5 million cut. The funds are not there, just flat out not there. And so what we had to do was to develop a budget that gives schools classrooms that they can actually make work. In addition to that, our schools are going to get additional money as a part of this budget season. And so we tried to provide for the core of what needs to happen, knowing that schools will also be able to add to that and buy additional services for the schools. I want to thank you very much. They're telling me that we're out of time. What I would like to say again is that we recognize the hard work. Long hours may be here, but the hard work is in the classrooms that you lead every day. And your work is validated, is appreciated, and it's what we need in order to make St. Paul remain one of the finest cities in this country. This is not going to be the last time we speak, we work together. We're creating an organization where we'll do this on an ongoing basis. So thank you very much. Have some very successful graduations, and pack those boxes so you can unpack them again in the fall.